All right. Hello, world. This is Americana. I'm Willie Montague.
And I'm Shakea Hinton.
And on this show, we don't dodge tough topics. We run straight at them. No agendas, no fear, just truth and real conversation. You guys, buckle up. It is showtime. Welcome to Americana. Lord, do we got some hot topics today. They out here talking about the president, low down, dirty, no good president, when political attacks cross the line. Then we're going to get into something that's very serious, World AIDS Day, and then public schools collapse, chronic absenteeism, a crisis levels, and then the end of TPS for Haiti. Without further ado, let's get into this conversation about Maxine Waters, as they like to call her, Auntie. She had a lot to say. I believe it was on November 24th. She couldn't even get past Thanksgiving. You see, she ain't thankful for President Trump. But this week, Representative Maxine Waters, who needs to retire, unloaded on President Donald Trump during a heated exchange over ICE raids, calling him a low down, dirty, no good, filthy president of the United States of America. Shakea.
Yes.
not you saying you proud. And
what else?
You know, of course, this was met with some praises, as we can see. And then there was some things going back. But this is what I have to say. Why does she think that this is something that's appropriate coming to someone of her age? She's like 90 years old.
Ooh. So that's like the pot calling the kettle black. The President of the United States continuously uses derogatory language when describing, particularly women. He's been noted to say retarded as of recently, when he was referring to the governor of Minnesota just last week. He called a reporter, let me see, piggy, quiet piggy, 2 weeks ago. He's mocked the disabled community. Like, should I go on? So this is actually lighthearted compared to what the current sitting president has done in recent news.
However, so this is what I think. So is this about, you know, a tit for tat? I mean, is it, because where does it come where if we're talking about the Democrats saying, we don't want to divide, we need to come together, Trump is dividing our nation, and then you get, you know, this full-grown woman, you know, that's been in office all of my life.
She has.
And then stands up there and say, yeah, well, okay. But gets up there and says he's a low down, filthy, no good president. Yeah. But where's that, how does that stop the divide?
That's a good question. I don't think it's tick for tack. I just think people are no longer abiding by the same decorum of politics as we once saw before Trump became president the first time. He won his seat in popularism by saying whatever he felt like saying, whether it was derogatory, whether it was off the cuff. He is not a polished politician. So now folks are seeing like, oh my God, we actually can be ourselves and say things that we most likely should not say, but we say it.
But is it really about being polished? Because I hate that word. And myself, who's ran for office, that was some of the things they always said, polish, polish, polish. But then when it gets down to it, we have people, especially on the radical left, you know, the blue hairs, that are out there that are destroying the fabrics of the United States. And so when you have someone who's been in office and seen different presidents, seen the condition of our country, that's what I'm stuck on. What makes her any better?
I think when you become a certain age, you just don't give a damn no more. And we are seeing that clearly with our own president, who is actually the oldest sitting president that we've had in this country. When you take off ageism, right, and you actually get down to the nooks and crannies of what makes politics tick these days, it is actually the authenticity of a person. It's not necessarily them being polished. It's about how they can relate to those who are watching them across the screen. Or if you and I are sitting across the table, if I can speak your language. That is essentially what allowed Trump to be president. So now everyone is doing the same playbook. I don't have to be as polished. I can tell you how I feel, whether it's uncouth, whether it is the perfect time or place. But that is actually very mild compared in comparison to what Trump has said.
So before we move on.
Do you not agree to that?
But hold on. Before we move on, would that reclaiming my time? That's for you all. But would we have been saying, or would you have been saying the same thing? Should President or former President Biden remain in office until this term?
The thing
would
is,
he still have been the old, too old?
President Biden, no, he was too old. I do think there should be an age limit for a lot of these sitting politicians. Once you get to a certain age, you need to pass the baton and let a new generation of folks come in and steer this country. I'm not opposed to that. But what I am saying, when you get to Trump's level and you see that you can get away with a lot of things, you just don't care anymore. And I think folks are fighting fire with fire at this point.
Okay, well, I'm all with it, but I still, it's time for her to go to the nursing home.
Oh, child,
well,
here
nonetheless,
we go.
let's go on to something that is lighter but yet important.
Yes, please.
World AIDS Day is today.
It is.
So since 1988, that was the year after I was born, by the way, so y'all get that together. So y'all know what to send me for my birthday. World AIDS Day has brought a global awareness to the HIV/AIDS epidemic that continues to plague our communities. Let's really actually dive into this, because this is a serious topic, especially for the Black and brown communities.
Yeah, very
so,
sure.
I'll say this, that our research is definitely a stigma that's in our communities about going to get tested. And it seems like our communities don't realize that there are so many preventative measures that is often not taken. Now, what I'm about to say, you're not gonna like it, but hoism is often presented in our communities more. You have Lil Nas X who walk around in hoism. You have Cardi B, who's a thought. You have Lil Nas X in his underwear and boots. You have people like Doja Cat, and you have people like, I don't know what she is, but what's the one that's on Wicked? She's Wicked. And so you have these individuals who promote, to me, almost like this sexual over-sexualization to our community. What do you feel about that?
So I know that this is a very serious topic, but I want to point out the hypocrisy of what you just laid out before us. You named a genre of Black people within our community who you feel are influencing this hoism, as you mentioned. And you mentioned about there being the sexualization of our culture. Yet, it is mostly rich white folks who are currently infected with HIV and AIDS, who are able to get the treatment that they need, and they don't look like they are hoes within this industry. So let's just be clear about that. But
okay,
going back to the topic of World AIDS Day, I think under this current administration, Black and brown communities in particular, we are further at a disadvantage. There has been $700 million that's been removed from research and from the CDC to further prevent HIV and AIDS. Did you know that?
Yeah, but see, this is the thing, and I agree with this, but there are so many, to me, it goes back to the home. And if we're seeing the problem is within our communities, why there's not more education that has been taking place. And there are programs and there are people who are educating, and we know one. However, there are also the resources out there that is free, and it doesn't have anything to do about the color of your skin, but it has everything to do about removing the stigma. But our community will go out there and do what they need to do in the bedrooms, and then go and say, oh, I don't want to go get tested. I don't want to look like I'm gay. I don't want to look like, I'm out there burning or whatever the case may be. But we're spreading this, this virus, but we're not thinking in the back of our head, who cares what it looks like? Let me go make sure that I'm protecting myself and others. Yeah. That's where I'm coming from. Even though if there's money out there, it's free. It doesn't matter about the color of your skin. Sure.
Yes, it's free. I do believe that there are organizations and programs that are already out there educating communities about condoms, prevention, testing, all of those things, right? I do want to state that HIV and AIDS, it's not just spread through sexually like a sexual contact, right? You can also contact the virus by needle sharing. Some women are raped, right? And as a result of that, they then contracted, and then the unborn baby also has it as well. So there's a number of other factors instead of it being this stigma of there being a hoism, as you mentioned at the beginning
It's
of the
still
segment.
hoism. But nonetheless, we have to take a quick commercial break, but we'll be right back. When we come back, we're getting ready to have a big discussion, and we're going to continue this conversation here on Americana. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to Americana. Let's dive into this. There is something going on in our school system, and we talked a little bit about this last week, but there are reports of 1 in 3 kids who are chronically absent, the worst in U.S. history. And this absenteeism that is taking place, you know what, where I think this is coming from, because the parents are tired of the overreach that the government is doing in the school systems. And I think that they're pulling them out, but we got to find out where are these kids going, because this is something that is becoming a problem when you have 1 in 3 kids who are just not showing up to school.
Yeah.
So what's happening with our education system?
I don't think it's the sole blame of the education system. In essence, I do. Hear me out. So if you go back to 2020, when we had the pandemic, the education system had to change immediately overnight. Everything was online. We are now seeing those same kids having to go through middle school, high school, and they don't know how to socially connect with people. So I think a lot of that is not just the education in itself, it's the socialization of those same kids who were forced to be on their computer 24/7, right? Or to interact with their teachers or submit their lessons through a portal versus in person. So many of them may not know how to connect with people in person right now.
So, you know, I mentioned about this, so and you and I can have this conversation. So what should we do as a plan? Because I see it personally, because when working with the House of Timothy, I get a lot of the boys who are not completing, so that could also add to that.
Yeah.
So did this mean that we need to state, because I am so against like this overreach of any kind. So when does it step in the parents, like, what do I need to do for my child? Because we can't keep putting it, as I said a couple of weeks ago, about, you know, sucking on the nipples of the government.
Here we go. Here we go. And we talk about the Democrats being hypersexual, everything with you Republicans. I can't. But I think where we are in our education system, it may need to be a total reboot. You have some schools that are closing because of lack of resources and funding. You have other schools that are thriving because of the voucher programs and school choice. You have some parents who are afraid to send their kids to public schools because of the mass shootings, right? So there is a number of factors that's playing into why kids aren't showing up at school. I don't have a solution to that right now, other than communities getting involved. If you see something, say something, bring a child missing to school, you pick them up, take them to school. I have no idea. The times have changed, though.
Yeah, but it's like these public schools and some of these teachers are so, I'm not going to use the word woke, but some of these teachers are so just disconnected from actual education that they're going to these schools and they're teaching their life. They're not teaching
Well, I can say the same thing about charter or either private schools. In private schools, you don't have the same guidelines and regulations as a public school where you can do whatever and say whatever and teach whatever behind closed doors because there are different metrics. So a private school can be just as extreme in their faith, in their practice and beliefs versus a public school where a teacher could get fired now for professing their religious beliefs.
But even with
or
the private
preferences.
schools, though, you know, the parents are aware of that. Like most of them going to, if they want to teach, as you said, extreme, it may be an extreme of this is my belief also. You know, and so it's like.
Well, what happened to the permission slips? Do you remember that in public school when we had to cover a topic that was considered to be risque? You had to have your parents' permission to sit in that class and observe.
Well,
do they not do that?
Probably not. They probably went out with.
Don't start. We've been doing really well today. It's Monday. Do not start.
Okay, I will save that for later.
I appreciate you.
But that went out with the former administration.
There you go. I'm proud of you.
That was hard, people. I was trying to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it went out with the former administration. I think that they didn't care about the kids. I'm just gonna say that. I know they don't agree.
But do you believe that what I said earlier, that a lot of these kids are having a hard time adapting socially because of the pandemic, because of COVID?
But all these are not pandemic kids.
They are.
Not all of them.
The new wave of students right now, that was what, 4 or 5 years ago?
Well, okay, that's true. All right. But, okay, yes. But again, when does the parent step in versus us asking something of the state or federal? It's like we're still trying to pass the baton and say, hey, I've done all my can. I'm feeding them. Now they're in your care for 8 hours. You do what you need to. When does the parent say, listen, Johnny, Susan, you need to do what you need to do so that, you know, you can get your education? When is it that kids like, hey, let me give you a tablet. Let me do that. When does that start shifting back to the parents?
I don't think the blame ever shifted. I think the parents should have always been responsible for the education of their kids. The teachers are just a supplement to what they're teaching, right?
But that's not what's been going on, though.
That is true. It should be.
Right.
That should be the model. I think technology, I think parents who are working 2-3 jobs are finding it very difficult to be present for their kids. So then a lot of them are left fending for themselves or showing up to school or being responsible for their lessons when at one point you had a parent, whether that was 1 or 2 parents in the house, who was able to check the lessons and be like, okay, you're doing this right. This new age math, I have a 4th grader.
I'm gonna tell you.
I can't help my son in that.
There's something called Wolfram Alpha. Y'all go look it up and help it.
Wolfram Alpha?
Wolfram Alpha.
Okay.
And that really helps to break down the math problems. It is really good for math, science, and all those.
It's a new type of math.
Yeah, and then ChatGPT. But anywho, moving on. The end of TPS for Haiti, the day before Thanksgiving. The great President Donald J. Trump.
Don't you start your mess.
Administration announced they will terminate the temporary protected status for Haitians.
Don't start with me, Will. This is not something that we should be laughing over. And let me be very clear. I am not laughing at this situation. It is very detrimental and will cause a huge ripple effect in our economy. I am laughing at the ignorance of my co-host right now.
I want to please tell me what will be the ripple. Now that I want before you call me names.
So there are a few states in this country who have large Haitian populations. One of them being Florida, the other one being New York. Now, if you look at the dynamics of Florida, we have a lot of agricultural, right? The dynamics of New York, you have a lot of hospitality, transportation. So those economies are going to get impacted by that. If Trump continues with this removal of TPS, he is now targeting Haitian Americans who contribute to our society. If you remove something without there being a replacement, there's going to be supply and demand. There's going to be a lack of supply and a major demand for services. So what would be the replacement for that?
So first of all, I want to say bonsoir to my Haitians. I have much respect for Haitians.
You do.
However,
there's a however after that?
I want to say this. I believe President Trump is looking at the countries that are able to give back to the United States. I do not believe that Haiti is in any financial condition to be able to support anything that the United States does.
Which would further my point. If we are considered to be the richest nation.
Considered,
very, emphasis on that,
considered.
To be the richest nation in this world, why can't we help countries like Haiti?
That's not our job.
That's not our job.
But
yet we're meddling with Israel and all those other things.
Our job, and this is why we're trying to shift.
You're picking and choosing.
But that's why we're shifting.
We're picking and choosing.
I'm not, because I didn't say anything about support of Israel either. What we're saying is that it should be America first and America only.
Now, Will, I hear you. In theory, that makes absolutely no sense. Let me calm myself down.
So we're all calming down. It's Monday.
That makes no sense. Yes, it should be America first. But if they are over here because they are fleeing from a country that is either poverty-stricken and they're coming over here to better themselves, and they go through the due process of becoming a legalized citizen within this country, you're telling me that that should be revoked from them and they should be sent back to what they were fleeing from?
I want to say this in all love. And it's going to be,
those Haitians that you were just shouting out earlier.
It's going to be very hard to digest what I'm getting ready to say, but I'm going to have to say it. The majority of Haitians that I have met and those that have come here that I see.
Will.
I cannot see any way, shape, or form that you can say that they are coming here from that country and bringing something that is encouraging America to be any greater than what it has already been. I'm sorry. Because what I have found, and I live in a neighborhood surrounded by Haitians, and most of it is them bringing their culture to the United States. It's not like they're trying to pick up our culture. They're bringing their culture here, which is fine because that's their culture. But also, what does it benefit the United States? How does that benefit the United States?
I'm going to let you bury yourself in this hole, and we're going to end here. I'm going to let you have the last say on that.
I'm getting ready to be chopped up. But nonetheless, this concludes today's episode for Americana. I'm Willie Montague.
And I'm Shakea Hinton.
And we appreciate you standing in the truth with us. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, only here on AFRO TV.
Loving your loved ones with HIV and AIDS.